Thanksgiving.
Tradition!
Oh, God. Oh, God. Please don't go all Fiddler on the Roof on me.
I'm just saying it's all about tradition.
Oh, like when you cook your famous mashed potatoes.
Oh, yeah, and you make your family's orange Jell-O salad.
Yeah. And you've gotten pretty good cooking the turkey through the years.
Thank you. And it's almost as good as your pumpkin pie.
Thank you. Well, do you remember the year when we almost didn't get to eat any of it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was 2009. Ellie would have been about 12, and Tess would have been 9. I remember it was a cold day like today.
Yeah, and I remember that I had all my stuff done, all of my dishes were ready, and I was trying to work with the girls to create the homemade little table pieces, and now it was your turn to take over the kitchen.
It's all about the timing.
I was fighting such a headache, and I was so tired, I just couldn't wake up.
You see, all the food has to hit the table hot and ready at the exact moment of dinner.
Yeah, and I was trying so hard with the help of the girls to create a beautiful table setting before your dad and your brother arrived. But I just couldn't wake up.
12:59, and everything is falling into place. I'm feeling pretty proud of myself.
And I am so happy that dinner is ready that I can just sit down and rest. What's that sound? Where's it coming from?
I didn't burn anything. It's not the smoke detector.
Okay, well, you go check the detector in the basement. Let me run upstairs real quick and see if it's the detector upstairs.
I didn't find anything.
I found it. It's our carbon monoxide detector. Oh my God, what do we do?
Well, to make a long story short, we called Mid-American Energy. And they told us to evacuate the house.
So we wrapped ourselves in quilts and stood outside in the cold. We were quite a sight, all of us wrapped in these colorful quilts, standing in our driveway, shivering. It got to a point finally that poor old Grandpa and Uncle Bob said, all right, we're going to sit in the car.
While we waited.
But while we were waiting, one of the good things that happened is my headache quickly went away in the fresh air.
The nice lady from the gas company found the problem and turned off our heat.
She had us open up all the windows, air out the house, and then she finally said, and when she said it was finally safe to go back inside,
and warm up our Thanksgiving feast.
At Thanksgiving, they tell us we're supposed to be thankful. Every year, we think about the day that our house began filling with deadly gas, and we are reminded to be thankful for the most basic of blessings, for a family that is together, safe and healthy.
And for carbon monoxide detectors.
We asked the nice lady from the gas company to join us for dinner, but she declined, said she had to go, had another appointment. But before she left, she did pose with us for our traditional family Thanksgiving dinner photo. And if you happen to want to see the photo, Bill's got a copy on his phone. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Seventh grade girls can be a bit ridiculous. I know this sounds kind of weird coming from the mouth of one, but hear me out. Now, I don't know what it is about the middle school age that makes us so rambunctious, but I can guarantee we are. Even I've been affected by this phenomenon. I went from this shy little nerd to this overexcited fandom member in just a year. How crazy, right? But this isn't about me. This is about one of my friends, who I won't say the name of in case she accidentally hears me from 30 miles away. Let's call her Juliet. Juliet was my best friend. We did everything together, at least at school. But after about a year of friendship, so around this past September, a close friend of mine smacked some sense into me. That sense was that Juliet is a manipulative, pathological liar. Yeah, harsh, I know, but you know what? That girl deserves it. I won't go into detail, but she humiliated me in front of people I cared about, destroyed any chance of friendship I had with a person I thought might be my next best friend. And after all of that, over and over and over again, she still said she loved me. Funny, right? We all know the type. So, I'd been trailing away from her for about 2 weeks, I stopped sitting with her at lunch, called her out on her lies, when I got a text from the close friend that made me come to the conclusion that I strongly disliked this girl. At this point, we had come face to face, and I had explained why I couldn't trust her. She said she loved me, what you would expect. Except this message was just a screenshot of a picture from Instagram, specifically Juliet's Instagram. The picture itself was just a placeholder, but on top of the photo was a caption so long she had to make the font as tiny as it could go without making it unable to be read. And that caption was the most hostile thing I've ever read in my entire life. I mean, what had I done to her? I'd been especially nice when telling her I couldn't stand her. So why had she posted this? Man, I wish I could tell you what it said, but I'm not allowed to use those words normally, and especially not in church. I was heartbroken. I ended up confronting her about it, like, oh, so you love me? Then what's this? We got into a huge fight. We were text screaming back and forth at each other for an hour, and it ended okay, I guess. We still talk over text sometimes, to ask each other when clubs end and whatnot. But whenever we see each other in the hallways, we avoid eye contact. So, why am I getting up on this stage the Sunday before Thanksgiving to tell you an annoying sob story about middle school drama? Because when I step away from this microphone today, I'll be thankful. And when I open the door to my home this afternoon, I'll be thankful. And when I lock myself in my room later with only my ukulele, my phone, and a bag of Hershey Special Darks, I'll be thankful. Why? These are the moments when I am alone. I'm thankful to be alone. This past year in my life has been all about drama and who hates who and who's cool and who's not. But maybe I need to step back, even just for a small moment. Maybe later it could be a long-term state, but I'm starting small. I have to reach enlightenment on my own, but I think I already have. I'm the happiest I've ever been. Maybe someday I'll find happiness in being around humans again, but I don't think that day will come for at least another year. Why? 7th grade girls can be a bit ridiculous.
Perhaps because he was a preacher's kid from a well-off family, my father may have been a bit too sympathetic and generous for his own good. In the 1930s, he frequently found himself selling gas and other services from his gas station to those who would pay later when able. Unfortunately, as the Great Depression dragged on, few were able. With that sort of generosity, it is perhaps not surprising that he not only lost his business, but also 2 farms that he had inherited. As my mother told it, he was left holding a bag of worthless IOUs, enough, if paid, to buy a good 150-acre Iowa farm at the time. I think my mother found that hard to forget. While I did not witness the pain of that loss directly, I did witness some of the consequences. We ended up living on a small, extensively wooded farm in southern Iowa, close to my maternal grandfather, so we could borrow his farm machinery. We had a small one-room house which cleverly became a two-room house with the addition of a dividing wall. My uncle loved to laugh about that. We kept a small fold-up bed in the corner of the kitchen, unfolding it at night for four of us kids to sleep crosswise on. I remember it particularly well because our neighbors visited one night after the kids had been put to bed. The bed had to be pulled back from the entry door, at least as far as it could go. Our two neighbors were barely able to squeeze in, sitting on the edge of that bed for a short visit. That was my very first memory of being terribly embarrassed by our circumstances. As the family grew to 10, I became keenly aware that we were near the bottom of the economic ladder in our small, very modest farm community, and found little pride in the fact. I'm embarrassed to admit I took some meager comfort in noting we, at least, were not quite as bad off as the large family that lived in the old railroad car down by the stream in the woods at the south end of town. And more selfish comfort in the fact that my family did well in school and theirs did not. My petty, pathetic yearnings for small distinction aside, maybe I wasn't totally wrong about the importance of doing well in school. Certainly my mother was intense in her frequently repeated belief that education was the one thing no one could take from you. She would know. As a result, the whole family was very focused on education and the role it could play in providing for a better future. It really was about the only thing we had going for us. Whether diligence and hard work in the pursuit of education would have, by itself, been enough to provide a better future, it is hard to say. While certainly necessary, it may or may not have been sufficient. The truth is, life can be tough and unpredictable, and we all could occasionally use a helping hand. Indeed, while my father's pride would have preferred not owing anyone anything, the greatness of our need must have argued otherwise. I see now that he occasionally swallowed that pride, and as some sort of restitution or gift to his family, learned to receive. As it turned out, it made a big difference for all of us. Somehow, a well-off widow in a town about 20 miles away heard about my family and history and the fact that we 8 kids did rather well in school. She herself had had no children. As she confided to me years later, her husband, upon his deathbed, had directed her, "Do as much good as you can for as long as you can." And she, literally a stranger to us at first, apparently chose my family to carry out that instruction. She started by loaning money to my father for a more productive farm with a much larger house. It wasn't hard to improve on that. From there, her interest in us grew and blossomed. Over time, she became a treasured part of the family, with most family holidays and events being celebrated around her dining room table. At one time or another, most of my 5 sisters spent summers living with her, working in town. And in my father's later years, she even gifted him a new car, the only brand new one he had ever owned. But her biggest generosity, in my opinion, took the form of financing the post-high school education for all 8 of the Bittner kids. No small task, even in that day and age. It even included gifted support for me to start back to graduate school. As she stated it more than once, our education was her legacy. Her thrill at our academic successes was real and shown. She was especially proud of her role in creating 4 teachers, and she took particular pleasure in calling me professor when I held that title. And while she didn't live to see it, I know she would have been so pleased of her small role that led this summer to my sister's lovely daughter acquiring a doctorate in neuroscience from Harvard. To put it bluntly and simply, her generosity made a tremendous positive difference in the lives of all my family. It is truly difficult to express adequate thanks for all she gave. All I know is if she were still alive this Thanksgiving, we would be all sitting down at her dining room table, holding hands, sharing a prayer, and giving thanks for all the good in the world. In her absence, I will offer up my own thanks, especially for her and for all the good she brought to my world. And possibly also note that my father as well perhaps deserves some belated thanks, both from me and the many unknown others, for all he too gave to the world. Happy Thanksgiving.